Hi there, everybody. It is week 3. It's about 2:43 in the afternoon. I have been busy reading your brain dumps for your personal narrative, and I also went through the entire serial discussion board this morning and into the afternoon. I have not gotten to the other discussion boards yet, but they are on my agenda. I probably won't get there today because there's just not enough hours to get there. But I did want to do a little bit of a wrap up with week 2, and I wanted to give you a little bit of overview for week 3. So in week 2, I went through your serial discussion board, and I need to clarify a few things. So first of all, I want to clarify the replies. Most of you this week did your replies. It was great. Last week we had a little bit of replying, but not very much. So I assume that that's you getting your feet wet and figuring out how to do things. I just want to remind you that you are required to have 3 replies to 3 different posts. So, for example, if I was going to reply to people, I would have to reply to Ben and Bella and Kelsey. And that would be my 3 replies, 3 different posts, 3 different people. And then if people are replying to my post, sorry, that's my mail. You're going to hear those because I get mail all the time. If somebody replies to my post, then it's only like polite if you're in a conversation to reply back. If we were sitting around a table and someone said to me, Meg, you made such a great point. I think blah, 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 blah about Adnan. And I just ignored them. I don't know. Is anyone talking to me? Not really. They would think I was not very polite. So if somebody replies to your post, that is your responsibility to reply back. And have the whole point of a discussion board is to have a conversation. So that conversation is hard because you have to keep checking back and you have to keep reading, and it's like you have to pay attention. And I've done online classes myself. I've taken online classes, and it is time consuming to have to go back and reread and reply. I get that. But that's the nature of an online class, which is what you chose to take. So we don't have a classroom. We can't have a group discussion. And so this is what we are left with. And it's sort of artificial, I know that. But my expectation is that you're replying to 3 people, and if anybody replies to anything that you say, you should be replying back. So there should be a robust conversation. That being said, you don't have to reply to everybody in the whole class. I don't think anybody's done that, but people are replying to more than 3, and that's cool. You can do as much as you want, but the requirement is 3, and then replying to people who reply back to you. Okay? So there's that clarification. And Kelsey, I know, did that. I saw her. I was like, yay, Kelsey's doing it. Good job, Kelsey. So if you need a model, you can go into week 2, and Kelsey did that. So good job. The other thing I wanted to note was when you are replying to questions or prompts that are at the beginning of your discussion boards, make sure that you're using proper names, because a lot of times you're reading the question like, how is Hey doing? And then when you write your post, you just use personal pronouns like, she's doing great. And it is clunky because when you're reading it, I could figure it out, but that's just not well written if you don't center your reader about who you're talking about. So, I think Hay's doing great. Then you can use personal pronouns. You can use she or her, but you need to at least say their name. And also, I wanted to caution you to make sure you're getting the names right. You should all be following along in your transcripts, so you should know that it's Hay, and you should know that it's Adnan, and you should be spelling those things correctly. Right? It's a college class. We need to have high expectations that you're getting all of those little details right. The other thing I wanted to talk to you about was your personal narratives. I've read 6 out of 12 that got turned in today, 12 is not the number I was looking for. Some people missed that deadline. 2 people I've talked to about it, but the rest are kind of crickets. I don't know where you're at. I don't know why you didn't do your brain dump. This is the easiest part of the personal narrative because you get 10 out of 10 no matter what you write down because it's bad. All of it's bad. Your first brain dump is bad. It's the worst thing you do because you're just going to get better from here. I'm not saying that your personal narrative brain dumps are like terrible or like, oh, I can't believe it. But yeah, they're the worst thing that you're going to do for your personal narrative because it's going to all get better from here. You're going to be revising and it's going to get better and better. So it could have been a stream of consciousness, anything. It could have been a list of things that you wanted to consider. It could have been anything. And a lot of you just didn't do it. That worries me because this is a third of, this is 30% of your grade, this paper. So if you're not doing the work, you're not going to be successful in the class. That's just the way it is. You have to do the work in order to be successful in the class. So I'm about 6 in. I've been very pleased with the story starters that I have read. Some of them are going to be really powerful, and some of them are going to be trickier to write than others. But I'm really excited to see what you're going to do with these. So just if you didn't get your brain dump in, make sure you're doing it somewhere because your next draft is due Friday. So make sure that you are getting that one in, okay? And as I'm on that subject, because you're not in my classroom, I have not had this conversation about the 5-paragraph essay with you. And not that anybody really wrote a 5-paragraph essay that I've been reading, but it is very structured. Not really, I don't know if I want to use the word structured, but yeah, that might not be the right word. I'm not going to find the right word right now. But I wanted to tell you a story about the 5-paragraph essay. 5-paragraph essay, which is taught in high schools and grade schools and middle schools ad nauseum, is a great genre for test taking. It is an easy thing to grade. It is easy to assign, and it is easy to fake write. The 3-pronged thesis statement becomes your 3 body paragraphs, and then you just repeat everything in the concluding paragraph. There is a time and a place to do that. That is why it's taught. But that is not how writers write in the real world. I would never sit down and write a 5-paragraph essay for anything. If I was writing a letter to the editor, if I was writing a letter to my dean, if I was writing a letter to my colleagues about something, if I was writing an article for a newspaper or the school newspaper, if I was writing an article for an educational journal, I would never write a 5-paragraph essay. They are not interesting to read. They're boring. They just repeat themselves 3 times. It's not good writing. It's easy to grade, but it's not good writing. So my expectation for you is to write well, right? To write something that I want to read. I don't want to be bored. I don't want to stick sharp things in my eyes because it's boring. I want it to be entertaining and engaging writing. That's my goal for you. And I have an illustration. So there was a student who was writing, and it was a narrative, a personal narrative, and they decided to write their personal narrative about the very first time they went hunting. This was something that was really important to them. They're going out with their grandfather and their dad, and it was the first time they got to go and actually shoot the gun. They went through all the training and everything that you have to do, went out there, and they're going deer hunting, and they're in the, the thing that you sit in, I don't know what they're called. They're tall and you're looking out trying to see deer so you can shoot and get your first deer of the season. And he's sitting there and it's kind of boring and it's kind of cold, and all of a sudden he sees something move and he shoots it, and they go running down and they're so excited, and they get there and he shot a cow. Okay, so that's in a nutshell the story. And that's how I would tell it. And the surprise ending is what makes the story, right? Well, this person was very well versed in a 5-paragraph essay. And instead of telling it the way I just told it, they said, it was my very favorite time of my life was the first day I went hunting. I was so excited. And then the last paragraph, the last sentence, the thesis statement was, there were 3 reasons I shot a cow instead of a deer that day. It gave away the whole ending, right? They were so versed in writing their 5-paragraph essay that they told the surprise ending in the last sentence of the first paragraph. So my goal for you is to really do good, interesting, engaging writing. Okay? This personal narrative, your so what, is going to come at the end. That's going to be the meaningful piece. That's going to be kind of like your thesis statement. It's not called a thesis statement in this. It's your dominant impression. It's the meaning that you get. It's your so what. It's going to be at the end. So it's going to wrap it all up, and you're going to make the reader feel satisfied for reading your paper. And some of you are already doing that, so I'm really excited about that. But I just wanted to do that as a cautionary tale. No 5-paragraph essays. Nope. No. That's not what's assigned, okay? All right. For cereal, here's what I was super impressed about this week. I was super impressed that a whole bunch of people, I quoted Lance and Ben and Robert and Jessica. They all talked about how many questions they have. I have so many questions. There's so many questions. Raised even more questions, right? I'm really curious about Jay. I'm really curious about why they, could have convict Adnan with no evidence, no physical evidence at all. Really awesome. Because if you remember last week, right, you looked at that presentation about your curiosity quests. So I did want to remind you that will be due in week 4. It is week 3 right now. So next week, you're going to have to turn in your curiosity quest on the discussion board. So I don't want you to forget about that. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, go back to week 2 and watch that video and figure out how to do that. Okay? But all of those questions are going to be so fun to read about. So fun to read about. You already are asking them. So all you have to do is Google. Find some artifacts. Make a presentation. Talk about it. It's going to be great. I'm really excited about that. All right. Other good things that I saw is there was some really good word choices. I loved what Maddie said about Sarah Koenig. She said, Sarah is definitely biased. I'm sure talking to him, and she's talking about Adnan, I'm sure talking to him and hearing his side of things makes her sympathetic toward him. And then this is the part that I was struck by. I think a lot of what Sarah says influences my decision on whether I believe he is innocent or not. And that is so astute. She is convincing us how to think about Adnan. And there's a lot of discussion. Is she biased? Is she not biased? Many people said, oh, for sure she's biased. She thinks Adnan is innocent, for sure. And then a lot of people were like, yeah, but she says both sides. She's really trying to go both sides. So this is not an easy determination. Is she biased or not? That's a great question to keep asking yourself as we go through our next episode 3 this week. Let me see. Stephanie. Stephanie did something really cool. She said, my parents were more about education than abstinence. And I thought those word choices were super cool. Like, it gave a different slant on parenting than Adnan's mom did in the last episode. And those word choices and the way it was phrased more about education than abstinence. Both of them start with vowels. It's just really, interesting and engaging writing. So good job, Stephanie. Let me see. And then, Connor did this. I liked this sentence that Connor did. He said, Adnan was either the most caring and friendly person ever, or he was the most secretive and scheming sinner. Do you see what he did? He used alliteration. Secretly and scheming sinner. It was great. You guys are just automatically doing all kinds of the 6 traits naturally. Good job. Yay. All right. I think that's all I've got for you. I'm worried about the lack of participation in some of the discussion boards and some of the assignments still. This week I am just grading on completion again. Next week I start grading. So I hope that if you're having trouble, that you're going to come in and see me. You're always welcome to come in and see me. Set up an appointment. Come in. I've met one of you already. Hi, Alex. Yay. And if you're not doing the work, you're not going to do well in the class. There's a couple of you that have done like 2 things both weeks. And both weeks we've had like 10 things due. So I'm worried about that. Let me know if you need help. And let me know if you think that maybe this is too much work, or maybe you have something else going on, or something's happening that you can't get the work done. Get in touch with me. Maybe I can help. Or maybe that this isn't the best time in your life to have an online class. Sometimes an online class you weren't sure what it was, and it's a lot of work. Online classes are a lot of work. You have to do all the work on your own. I don't know. So do your homework. How about that? Do your homework. Okay. I hope you guys have a great week. If you have questions, go ahead and email me. You have quite a lot of work this week. I'm sorry about that. We just have a very limited amount of time, and we only have 5 weeks for this unit. So we have to keep chugging along. And so we are doing a lot of the instruction for the personal narrative this week. There's a presentation about description. There's a presentation about dialogue. There's a presentation about tense. And that presentation is going to be Jan again. She did that one. There's some practice stuff. And you're going to be doing another draft for Friday. And there's only 2 mentor texts and only 1 discussion board this week for mentor texts. But there's a whole bunch of practice writings. Satellite writing is going to be really important for your personal narrative, so make sure that you're practicing that. All right, I'm babbling. I'm going to go. So if you need me, you know my email. Come and see me on campus if you want. You're more than welcome. And have a great week 3.